The bells of St. Peter's Basilica rang out today, marking the death of Pope Francis. The tradition is for church bells to ring for each year of the pontiff's life. Pope Francis died around 7:35 this morning local time, closer to 1:30 for us here in Maine. The Vatican announced today that he was killed by a stroke. He was 88 years old and had a very busy Easter, greeting people in public, even meeting Vice President J.D. Vance for a brief visit.
Pope Francis was the first pontiff from Latin America. He rose through the ranks of the church in Argentina before being tapped to lead the Catholics of the world. NBC's Claudio Lavanga has more about the Pope's last day and what's ahead for the Vatican.
Well, the hundreds of people who gathered here in St. Peter's Square on Monday are still in a state of shock following the sudden news of the Pope's passing early on Monday morning. Only on Sunday morning, the Pope made a sudden appearance here in St. Peter's Square, appearing on that balcony in the middle of St. Peter's Basilica. He was on a wheelchair. Of course, he looked frail. He's looked frail for a few months now since he developed that bilateral pneumonia, but still he was able to bless the crowd. He was able to wish happy Easter to everyone. He was not wearing those oxygen tubes in his nose, which he's been using for the extra intake of oxygen, kind of giving the impression to everyone that he was improving. Also even got on that Pope mobile to tour the square, to tour the area, to bless the people, to bless the children, and everybody reacted in such an excited way because finally they saw the Pope was back to his flock. And then less than 24 hours later, the shocking announcement of his passing. Now, the Vatican has said that later on Monday evening, the American Cardinal Kevin Farrell will preside over the rite of the certification of the confirmation of death of Pope Francis. Then there will be the deposition of his body in a coffin, a simple zinc-lined wooden coffin. And then as early as Wednesday, we've been told by the Vatican spokesperson, he will lie in state inside St. Peter's Basilica to allow pilgrims to pay their last respects. And we do expect long lines of pilgrims, of the faithful, of regular people wanting to pay their last respects to Pope Francis, because this was a Pope who was very much loved here in Rome, in Italy, and of course around the world. This is Claudio Lavanga at the Vatican for NBC News.
Pope Francis was one of a long list of pontiffs who never visited Maine, but furniture made by a Maine company was essential to two of his visits to America. In 2015, Pope Francis gave an address in Philadelphia, and he used the lectern that President Abraham Lincoln stood at to deliver the Gettysburg Address in 1863. Well, that lectern required some special care, so the workers at Thomas Moser made a brace that the Pope could lean on while delivering his address. Those furniture makers also made 5 chairs for the Pope and his cardinals to sit in for an event during that same trip at Philadelphia's Independence Hall.